So first of all, we have senior level students here, so I'll invite them to introduce themselves one by one, and maybe each one of them will give lower level students a piece of advice about how to learn Chinese well. Tianjia, can I start from you?
I'm Charlotte. I'm obviously a senior Chinese and econ double major. A piece of advice?
Yes.
I would just say be on top of all of your work. It's really easy to get behind and forget all the characters you've already learned, so just make sure you're reviewing every day.
Hi, I'm Carly. I'm a math and Chinese double major. My piece of advice would be to always go to class every day because you're going to learn something every day.
Very important one.
Hi everyone, my name's Lisa. I'm a Chinese and econ double major. My piece of advice is take Wong's film class.
Oh, thank you. I can guarantee some fun there, watching Chinese films and discussing a lot of things. Yeah, I don't guarantee anything about Chinese language in my lower level film classes because they are conducted in English. But yeah, it helps you to build some interest in Chinese culture. Yes.
Hi everybody, I'm Oliver. I'm a Chinese major and super gov minor. I just keep taking gov classes. And probably one of the biggest piece of advice I can give is when you're learning new words and phrases, you try to learn them in the context, the sentences that like you first studied them, so that way it just becomes more fluent. You can see them you can see how they actually work in a Chinese sentence structure, and you don't just start saying them incorrectly.
Hi everyone, I'm Devin. I'm a geoscience and Chinese double major, also a senior. And my piece of advice would just be go to Chinese table, and if you go, make sure you try to use the vocabulary from that day. Because it'll really help you if you go to China or talking to someone as a native speaker to have that experience.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm a geoscience major, Chinese minor, and my piece of advice would be don't be afraid to talk with the teachers in Chinese. Even though you're forced to, don't be afraid to go, above and beyond and talk to them about random things about your day. That will really help your Chinese.
I'm Cole. I'm a senior econ and Chinese double major, and I guess my piece of advice would be have fun with Chinese. It can be really overwhelming, but don't give up. Keep going. It will get better, maybe.
Very likely, not maybe. Yes. Any other senior students here?
Hey.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm just a Chinese major. Did my thesis last semester. My advice is don't be afraid to watch videos in Chinese or watch Chinese TV shows, because they're actually pretty funny and they teach you a lot also, and also all the professors will know which videos or TV shows you're watching if you're speaking the right way.
And the same also of course applies to Chinese films. Okay? Watch Chinese films. Any other senior students here? Okay, so next we'll invite 5 senior students to give you a kind of more detailed introduction to their experiences and so on and so forth. And first, we would like to invite Carly to talk about how to major in Chinese. So Carly,
Hey guys, Carly. So I'm just going to kind of go down this list of questions that I was given. Feel free to stop me if you have any more questions. So the first question is being a Chinese concentrator without being a double major or minor good enough for job opportunities? Short answer, yes. Long answer, I think you should need to remember that you're not just a Chinese major, you're a Hamilton College Chinese major. Especially if you've gone abroad, you know that you're kind of on another level, and that's really important. So make sure you accept that you're better than people at times. As you heard a lot of people say, most of us are double majors or some sort of Chinese major and minor, so it is pretty easy to balance the coursework. I personally didn't have a whole lot of trouble because the math major, you don't have to write a thesis, so I just kind of took some classes and then also took Chinese classes, and going abroad obviously really helps because you're taking 4 or 6 credits worth of classes depending on how long you go for. So by the time you get back, you're almost halfway done with the major. In terms of classes, I recommend anything really. I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add. Almost any class you take here with the Chinese in the Chinese department is going to be great. These professors really care about us and really want to see us, succeed in the major. So they're going to help you through it in any way that they can. In terms of the most interesting class I've taken at Hamilton in this department, I would say, without offending any teachers, the higher level ones are much better because when you're first year, second year, you're just kind of doing characters over and over again. But once you get into like 300 and 400 levels, you're just debating things. So it's really fun to like get in arguments with your professors and your students and your classmates in Chinese and just kind of see where it takes you. Like, is Taiwan part of China or is it its own country? We could go on and on probably about that one. And then the last question on here is just if you're able to major in Chinese and another subject, is Chinese too demanding? I would say it is demanding, but if you just put in the work, you're gonna probably get a good grade in the class and you're gonna be able to do, it's all about time management. So if you just know what you wanna do, if you have any concerns, I'm sure Wang Laosher would love to sit down with you and plan out your next 4 years. So yeah, that's about all I have.
Thank you. So next we'll have Evan. You want to talk about study abroad experience in China?
Hey guys, I'm going to do the same thing, just go through these questions really quickly. So in addition to studying abroad, are there any other language, summer activities, internships you recommend? I know a lot of people here, or not a lot of people, but some people do a translation thing while you're there. When I was in China, I did some voice recordings, and then over the summer, me and Charlotte actually did ACC's field study, which is going through rural China and teaching classes, not English, just teaching classes, which was a fantastic experience, and I highly recommend that if ACC offers it again. So that's something to note. How do you suggest that we immerse ourselves into Chinese culture while studying abroad? I think you'll find that when you're at ACC, it's difficult to not immerse yourself because you are in China. Fun fact, if you want to get food, you have to speak Chinese. If you want to do anything, you have to speak Chinese. I would recommend relying heavily on your host family or your language partner. I feel like a lot of people find one or the other that they really vibe with and they spend a lot of time with them. For me, I loved my host family. I spent a lot of time with them, and that was a really good way to not only speak a lot of Chinese, but also learn a lot about Beijing and just get to know them really well. And I think if you come from Hamilton, you're really prepared for ACC. Like, I wouldn't worry about the work level too much. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. Like, it's just the next step. Like, every class, like, first year prepares you for second year prepares you for ACC. It's that easy. You'll get there. There'll be a learning curve the same as there is in any Chinese class. And then you'll be well adjusted and ready to go. I think if you're not a Hamilton student, it would be a little bit harder, but I think you know what to expect, and work takes you 2-3 hours, and then you have the rest of your day to play. And it's a big city, there's a lot to do. Yes, Carly, to play. How do you present your study abroad experience on a resume? So I'm mostly just on my resume, I'm mostly a geoscience major when I'm looking for jobs. So Chinese is not a footnote, but it takes it's on the bottom half of my resume, but I note the scholarships that you go. If you go to ACC, you can apply for Fulbright scholarships. Super prestigious, look good on resumes, look good for interviews. You can also take the OPI or the HSK, which just indicates how proficient you are. Put those on your resume too. All these things are good. Me and I think 4 of the seniors right now are in an OPI prep class, so the teachers here really want us to succeed, and that's really helpful. And yes, studying abroad in China was still a very enjoyable experience. I think, at least when I got here, I felt like a lot of the seniors really harped on how difficult it was going to be and how you weren't going to have any fun, but that was not my experience. Like, yes, you do have to go to class, yes, you do have to do your homework, but you're not going to be buried. You'll have free time, you have weekends, and I think a lot of people had a lot of fun and spent a lot of time at Saint Latour, so it's all good.
Way too much time.
Oliver spent way too much time at Saint Latour, so. And I think the transition from coming back to ACC was probably my greatest experience, because you go from speaking the language every day and taking a lot of classes to maybe only having a class once or twice a week. So I think when you come back from studying abroad, you kind of have to be conscious of that and put in the extra effort if you want to maintain your level of fluency that you've achieved while abroad. And yes, there is a cultural difference in China.
Surprise!
You will definitely have your own pet peeves or things that like grate on you day after day. I think a funny one was Cole has a funny video of himself diving that he likes to show, and like every time he showed it to our Chinese teachers, they'd be like, "Oh, you're so fat there," and like. Not necessarily something every single time. And the photos that they make you take and submit, make it a good one because they will comment on it. But I think generally after a few weeks and after you make a few friends, you get used to the cultural differences. There's nothing hugely jarring. They're just going to be a little bit more blunt in some ways and a little bit more reserved in some ways. It's the same as going to any culture. You'll be a little confused at first, but you make your peace with it. I never made my peace with the old Chinese people turning off their air conditioning when it was 9,000 degrees out, but just me. I would recommend studying abroad, and it definitely improved my Chinese. Yeah. No, definitely. I think the program here is really good, and you learn a lot here, but there's nothing like being surrounded by it. Also because you'll find that when you get there, you speak pretty formally here. And you go there and people kind of give you strange looks, and you'll learn more like spoken, you'll learn more like, not like slang, but the way they speak. It's a little bit different than the way we speak, and you kind of learn and you get better and you learn a lot of things. Highly recommend it. And how did you get an internship in China? I applied. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll have Lisa. Talking about Chinese learning skills.
Hi everyone. So the first question is, we're going to give a mini presentation in Chinese 140, and I've never done it before. Based on your experience, could you give me some advice on how to best prepare for it? So I would say in terms of preparing, I would recommend that you print out your script of practice. I find it really helpful to just highlight the characters that I keep on messing up and writing both the pinyin and tone. And when you're speaking, feel free to speak slowly. I know I always get points off because I can't say Z or ZH. It sounds the same when I say it, or fourth tones I have trouble with. And I would recommend throughout the semester preparing by going to Chinese table and speaking with your Chinese professors. A lot of them will go to Commons, so feel free to chat them up in line. And just remember, if you're nervous, you're probably not the only one. So the goal of the presentation is for you to practice your Chinese and get feedback from your professors. Do you have any tips/advice in memorizing most of the Chinese characters that you learn? So in the past, I would just study the list from the first word to the last word, and I found that I would know the first part really well, but kind of forget the last part. So I would recommend prioritizing how you study. So I always start with the idioms because the Chinese department loves those. Second, any words that are key titles or topic sentences or things in bold. And then the last piece is whatever other vocab words are in the sentence pattern that you're learning, because those are likely to be quizzed on. And then when you write an essay in Chinese, how much do you rely on Google Translate? The honest answer? For me, I try to avoid it because it can be very sticky situation where you're constantly putting stuff in and just having an output. But you'll realize sometimes it takes more time to figure out what Google Translate is trying to say. The only time I might use it is if I want to read through a new article that we got. I'll have it read out loud to me, so I know what words it is and it helps me memorize. I would recommend downloading Pleco on your phone if you haven't. I think that's really easy because you can just draw the word in and then it'll tell you what the pinyin in English is. So basically rely on the sentence patterns you guys know. And then what is the process for writing the thesis in Chinese? I would say the hardest part is coming up with a topic. if you're a double major or have a minor, the Chinese department really suggests that you find a topic that's related to it, and ideally something you've already done research on. So if you go to ACC for your Duli Baogao, you'll get a chance to basically start your thesis. And I honestly would say my thesis was probably my favorite class last semester. Professor Huang was my advisor. And each week I'd basically come in with 2 pages and we'd just sit down in her office and she would help me edit it. And it would really go like, Lisa, this is great, but let's find a way to make this sound smarter and we continue editing. But you'll realize that your advisors are super supportive and the whole process is very manageable. I feel like when I look at other majors towards finals time, everyone's pulling all these all-nighters and staying up in the library, and I didn't find that at all for Chinese. And just something to remember is that it is a Chinese thesis, so while the research is important, I think there's a greater emphasis on, how well have you learned the language and how you're using it. But it was definitely very rewarding to say that you've completed over 18 pages in Chinese. And then my last question is, what was your most effective way of being able to fluently speak Chinese? I don't know if this is an option, but go to ACC. Being immersed in an environment where you didn't really have a choice but to speak Chinese was really helpful. I remember trying to explain to the guy at the front desk that my Wi-Fi wasn't working, and I ended up being like, can you just come up to my room and I'll point at the thing that's not working? But he kind of taught me the language, oh, this is a router, this is a password. And I would say, don't be afraid to speak, even if you're constantly making mistakes. I don't know if Professor Wong remembers this, but during my very first week at Hamilton, he asked me how I was liking Hamilton so far, and I was trying to talk about my roommate, so it's Tongwu, and then I said Tongju, which means move in with your boyfriend, and he just gave me this look, and I thought I would never be able to speak to Professor Wong again.
Sorry, I totally forgot about that.
But laugh it off, continue learning Chinese.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll have Tianxia talk about overcoming learning difficulties.
So the first question was, what do you think the hardest part of studying Chinese here was, and how did you get over that obstacle? The hardest part for me was definitely learning all of the characters, along with the tones, along with the pinyin, because in first year Chinese you're tested on all of those, and I wasn't used to that at all. And I think the way that I did that, kind of overcame that, was just making it a priority to make sure oh, I know how to write this, I know how to say it, and I write the tones on top of the characters, which you think is really annoying, but it comes in really, really handy later on. Also for writing characters, I think something that really helped me was coming up with stories for a lot of characters. I can't think of any examples right now, but if you have Ren as a radical, you know it's talking about a person, so you can obviously make up a story that's having to do with a person doing a certain activity if it's a verb or whatnot. So that was what really helped me learn the characters. The second question is, what made you stick with it when it got really difficult and time-consuming? You will get frustrated learning Chinese. It's a difficult language, and it's very different from English. There have been times where I just kind of want to quit because it's a lot of work, but you really get to see how far you progress. Even as a first-year student, by the end of Chinese 110, all of our classes were in Chinese, and that really made me motivated to keep going because I knew that I could progress even more. And even going to ACC, I was one of the most reluctant people, I think, to go to ACC because I didn't know what to expect in China. I really liked it here at Hamilton, and I knew it was going to be a lot of work. It's not an easy blow-off semester at all, but it definitely was something that you have to do, in my opinion, as a student in Hamilton. And it really helps you. Coming back from ACC, I was able to have conversations with a lot of people. Just going back from break, I was on a plane with someone and I got to talk to them in Chinese, which was really cool, and I really impressed him, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't go abroad, if I didn't put in all the effort, and I didn't stick with Chinese. The third question, are there any tricks to remember the tones more accurately? I would say writing the tones on top of the characters is the most important part. It's, again, as I said, very annoying, and no one actually does that in real life. But it really drives home the point, like, tones are important. If you go to someone and you start speaking without tones in a monotone, they won't understand you. And it's not because they're trying to be mean or make you feel bad about yourself, it's because the tones are super important. And they might think you're saying something completely different. For example, I went to the grocery store with one of my friends when I was in China, and we were trying to find, like, afterbite. And one of the RAs had told us, like, how to say it, but we weren't saying the tones right, so we went up to the people, like, asking, like, oh, where's the afterbite? And they pointed to the toilet paper. Apparently we were saying, like, where's the toilet water? So, like, they're really important. So really take the tones into account, right on top, even if you don't have to. I'd say studying, for sure, write the tones. What do you think is the most effective way to memorize characters quickly and for the long-run memory, or long-term memory? The thing I can say about this is review every day. You will forget characters, and it will be frustrating, especially if you know at one point you learn the characters. Review every day. Maybe do a little part at every time. Take a break, come back, review. And what I found was most helpful is reviewing right before I go to bed, and then waking up, because you know your brain rearranges it when you're sleeping. Or so someone told me. I'm not a psych major. Do you think you will remember Chinese characters in the next few months, years? I think the ones that I use a lot I will remember. There are obviously some that we learn in freshman year that we just won't ever remember. They won't come up often in conversation, but if you just make sure that you know the basics, that's the most important. And every class you take, you'll build on it, and what becomes basic is, like, broader and wider, if that makes sense. So I won't remember how to say, like, afterbite. I have no idea how to say that right now, but, like, I do know how to, like, introduce myself. I do know how to have an intelligent conversation with someone, and those have become basic characters for me. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Mao Wei talk about Clear 10.
Hi, everybody. So, again, I'll just go through the questions that we have here. So firstly, it's asking, how has your ability to speak Chinese influenced your job search? Has it affected the type of career you're searching for? I found that I've always had an interest in international business and international government, and then studying Chinese really helped me pursue that avenue even further, especially now, especially hot language given China's rise and everything. And it's been very eye-opening for what kind of opportunities I could search for, especially with in terms of location, because some places they say you have to be able to speak Chinese fluently, and now being in my 4th year here, that is actually a possibility, and I can work at places that I wouldn't have been able to had I not studied Chinese at all. Secondly, as a Chinese concentrator, what type of jobs are you applying to for post-undergrad? I'm currently looking at mostly consulting work, but really ranging from all kinds. That you can really go from really a huge range of things, from a lot of nonprofit work, government, and then consulting. Those three are pretty popular among Chinese majors, just because they're really applicable, and Chinese gives you that extra level of kind of flexibility that a lot of companies like to look for. And even though I may not be using it specifically in the role I'm going to be taking once I leave, I know it's something of interest to the company, and the company does have a Hong Kong office where they do speak Mandarin there. So when they were looking through my resume, it was definitely something that was brought up in conversation, that if I had any interest in perhaps eventually going to the Hong Kong office. So it may not necessarily be you may not use it necessarily immediately after you graduate, but having that on your resume is definitely something that companies are very interested in, and hopefully you should hope, and they hope that you can keep it up to the same level, so you can really have the flexibility to go really anywhere you want. Third, are there many job opportunities within the U.S. for Chinese concentrators? Yes. It's not, even though they may not necessarily be looking for Chinese concentrators, just being a Chinese major indicates kind of just a lot of hard work and dedication, and just you're willing to spend hours and hours on something that is very tough. And in job interviews where Chinese wasn't a requisite or prerequisite or anything, it's a great conversation opener. To be honest, they're just really curious how your experience was, and like what you were planning, how you got interested with that, and how you might be able to plan to use it later, etc. So it's definitely a huge help. Like it's never going to be, it's never going to detract from your resume that you were a Chinese major, because it only really shows good qualities. Then how do you think you'll use Chinese in your future? Hopefully, just being able to continue using it in some sort of international business context, like where I'm not going immediately to Hong Kong, Shanghai, or Beijing to work, but hopefully in the future, a couple years down the line, I can still use it for work over there if I'm working in the U.S. or if I have a position that's perhaps in Europe, and then like just using Chinese really as using Chinese to communicate between offices around. And then also if you're looking for more towards the government route, like the State Department always loves Chinese majors, and it's a good time to be a Chinese major. I found with all the research I've done, the experience I've had with interviews, because it's just, if it's not necessarily extremely useful to the job you're looking for, it's definitely desirable, because it, like I said, does give you that level of flexibility. So next, do you plan to live in China at any point in your life? I don't necessarily, it's not like a set goal of mine, but it's something I'm totally open to. Like, living in Beijing for 6 months was quite an experience, and it's definitely a really cool city. But I got the opportunities to live in, I got the opportunity to go to Shanghai for a bit. I got to go to Hong Kong, and then we went to some other not quite as often visited cities, but like Xi'an, and I know they go to Chengdu also. So you get a lot of opportunities to look at a few different Chinese cities. And China's a really cool place, and I would definitely be open to living there at some point. And knowing the language in any in any country you're gonna move to is helpful, but it's imperative in China. And also, the level that Hamilton students can speak it at it impresses people in China really quickly. So it's definitely something that I'm completely open to. Next, do you plan to pursue something Chinese related in your career? Again, yeah, probably. Invested so much time in this that hopefully I could use it after college as well. Like I said, immediately it's not something that I am planning on doing, but I would like to do it in the medium term to really start using Chinese as a regular part of my job. And it's extremely satisfying when, like Charlotte was talking about, like you start to sense the progress you've made even after one semester. So after almost 4 years here, it's amazing to tell how far we've come. So being able to use that in a business setting would be really, really cool. So I'm absolutely open to using it for later in my career. So next says what, and here this is like the other section of it, so I'll take care of that too. And it says, what Chinese TV shows or music would you recommend? Not sure those of you who have done ACC already, but those of you who went to ACC know of Baba Chunar. That's it's a very popular TV show among study abroad students, because it's really funny, and it's a really good story. And they have, thankfully, the show has Chinese subtitles, so you can keep pausing it like 50,000 times each episode so you can understand what they're saying. But the storyline is really good, and it's a really good TV show to watch when you're learning Chinese, because the concepts, it's not super deep and philosophical. It's applicable to everybody who's watching it, so you can understand it pretty well. And it's just a lot of fun to watch. And then
it's called Baba Chunar. So
yeah,
it's easy enough for everyone to understand, right?
Yeah. Where are we going, Dad? And there's 5 little kids, and like they speak. To be honest, watching the little kids speak was a little bit annoying, because I knew that their Chinese was better than mine. But that's a really fun show to watch. And then in terms of music, I'm not a huge music guy. I appreciate it, so I didn't necessarily search out, but one song that they played over and over and over again during our summer term was Xiaoping Guo. So Xiaoping Guo, I think I've memorized like 80% of the song at this point. So that one gets stuck in my head pretty often. But once you the more time you spend with your language partner, the more like you have more opportunities for them to introduce you to like just that kind of pop culture, and like you'll have more and more opportunities to listen to Chinese music. But a lot of it is really, really catchy. Next, where do you find free Chinese books to read online or on a small budget for beginner Chinese student? Worldjournal.com is pretty good, and also my favorite website that I used when I was there, it's called The Chairman's Bow, and what it does, it publishes short articles based on your HSK level. So and HSK, I think it's ranked, at least the one options there are 2 through 6. 2 being like virtually a beginner, and 6 is pretty much fluent. And so you can choose the difficulty of the article you're going to read, and then that is a really good. It's a really good way to understand where you are in terms of the HSK, because that's probably something you might want to take if you go over to China. And also, a lot of the articles they choose are they're really interesting. And unfortunately, it's a small company, so they don't. It's not like the New York Times. They don't come out with new articles every 20 minutes. It's like it takes a few days. It takes a few days for new articles to come out, but they're really interesting, and they're really like I had a really good time reading them. Next, how do you learn more Chinese vocabulary out of the classroom? Do your thesis in Chinese. That is a really surefire way that you're gonna up your vocabulary a lot. Of course, I'm being a little bit facetious, but it's I had Wong for my thesis advisor, and I did my thesis on the effect of the U.S. election on the effect of the U.S. election on future U.S.-China relations. I was very busy last semester because a lot of topics kept coming up, and every time I thought I was finished, something new came up that I had to write. And I was reading a lot of Chinese media articles, and also New York Times articles in Chinese. And when you're just at that level of journalism, you need to just have Pleco ready to look at like 3 words every line, and after the first couple of days and weeks, it starts to become a lot easier to understand how like what words definitions are, and you can also use them in the context of a sentence. Oh, and also before I forget, Lisa mentioned Pleco before, and I think everybody in our class uses it. It's a godsend. But there's a huge add-on to it. That's unfortunately it's $15, which is really expensive, but it's worth every penny. And what it's called, it's the character recognizer, and what it works through your camera, and you hold your phone over a Chinese character, and it recognizes it and tells you what the definition is. So that is saved huge amounts of time for any Chinese studies. So if you can, I would absolutely get that. And also you can take a picture with it, like you can take a picture of a Chinese menu, and then it'll recognize the whole thing and translate it for you. So that is a huge, huge plus. Next, do you feel like you're fluent in Chinese? I'm never gonna say I'm fluent, because it's like I always, even to this day, like in normal conversation, I know I make mistakes. But I feel like I'm definitely like very proficient. Like on my resume, I put highly advanced, because I put like English. Like I'd count English as fluent, but I know my Chinese is never going to be at that level. But I'd say my Chinese and everybody's Chinese when you come back from ACC is very, very high. And do you think you have a good understanding of Chinese culture from your classes at Hamilton? Yes, but going to China is the best way to get immersed in the Chinese culture. I mean, you're going to get a great sense of the culture already, since all our teachers are from mainland China or from Taiwan, and it's just that having just that connection already gives you a very good glimpse into Chinese culture. And then you have Chinese table, and then there are the events throughout the semester like China Night and everything, where we celebrate Chinese New Year. It gives you a good glimpse into Chinese culture, but you're gonna have the best immersion you can get is by actually going to Beijing and going through ACC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. The information was really, really helpful. Next, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about how you major in Chinese, what kind of courses, how many course credits you need to get, and so on and so forth. Because I know the time to declare major, to declare concentration is near for sophomores, and even if you are only a freshman or freshwoman right now, because you are taking Chinese, you may have that in your plan in the future, declaring concentration or minor in Chinese at some point in your 4 years here. So this is directly from the. Okay, this is directly from the course catalog. So a concentration in Chinese consists of 9 courses offered by the Chinese program, and numbered 140 or higher. So we do count from 140. So that's the course sophomores are taking right now, and that's also the course you take will declare concentration in most of the cases. So 140 or higher, including at least one 400 level course. This is a little bit sophisticated to understand, but let me explain. Including at least one 400 level course in each semester of the senior year and the required senior project. This means when you are a senior Chinese concentrator, you need to take at least one 400 level course in each semester, a total of 2 in your senior year. Understand that? And in addition to those 2 courses, you need to write your senior thesis in Chinese. That actually counts as a course. So basically, you take 3 courses, 3 Chinese courses, including the senior project in your senior year. Okay, so let me do math here. Although I'm not really good at math, that's why I'm a Chinese literature professor. But the math is very simple. I'm just trying to show you how easy for you to fulfill this concentration requirement. Although 9 courses sounds like a lot, but it's actually very easy for you to fulfill. First, let's imagine some of the scenarios. Because in most of the cases, you take 140 in your sophomore year in the spring semester. So let's just assume that. You take 140 in the spring semester in your sophomore year. And remember, I just mentioned in your senior year, if you are a Chinese concentrator, in your senior year, you will take a total of 3 courses, right? 1 course in each semester plus the senior project. That's 4 courses. If you go to ACC, if you attend ACC for 2 semesters, by 2 semesters I mean 1 regular semester, spring or fall, and a summer semester, you will actually get 6 credits from that experience. So 1 regular semester you get 4, and summer you will get 2. So 1 plus 6 plus 3, 10 credits. You are done. Okay, you are already a Chinese concentrator. And also, because you take 2 credits in the summer, you are actually 1 credit over, right? 10. But that 1 credit does not take away any of your chances to explore other disciplines while you are on campus, because you are actually taking an additional semester. Seeing what I'm trying to tell you? You are actually taking additional semester. You are concentrating that additional semester on Chinese. So you learn Chinese well, and you do not sacrifice your chances to explore more diverse disciplines while you are on campus. That's part of a sweet deal, I would say. Or maybe you do not plan to take to spend a summer semester in ACC. You go there only for 1 regular semester. That's also a very often chosen option. In that case, you will, again, 140, 1 credit, 3 credits in your senior year, and you will get 4 credits from your ACC experience. 1 plus 4 plus 3, 8. You only need to take 1 additional credit to be a Chinese concentrator. Because you only go to ACC for 1 regular semester, which means in your junior year, you have at least another semester, right? In that semester, you take 1 credit, you take 1 Chinese course to maintain your Chinese level and to fulfill your concentration requirements. You are done. Okay, very easy. Or you only go to ACC for the summer. You don't attend ACC in any regular semester. That's actually also doable. If you again, from 140, you have 1 credit here, 3 credit in your senior year, and you get 2 credits from ACC, and you only need 3 more credits to be a Chinese concentrator. Remember, in this scenario, you go to ACC only for the summer, which means in your junior year, you probably will stay on campus. You have 2 semesters on campus in your junior year, and you take 3 credits, 3 Chinese courses in your senior year. That's very doable. Okay, you are a Chinese concentrator again. Okay, or you don't want to go to ACC at all. You don't want to study abroad in China at all. In that case, it's still doable for you to be a Chinese concentrator. I'm just trying to convince you. In every scenario, it's just possible. But it does take a little bit more efforts because you don't get any credits from your study abroad experience, which means you will have 1 credit for 140. And that's your sophomore spring. You will have 2 more years left at Hamilton. And you need to take 8 credits to become a Chinese concentrator. For 2 more years, 4 more semesters, 8 credits, which means you have to take 2 Chinese courses per semester. In that scenario, probably you will need to think about this. After consulting the Chinese program, students may use courses focusing on China offered by another department to satisfy Chinese concentration or minor requirements. We don't require you to go study abroad in China to declare Chinese concentration. We also don't require all the 9 courses to be conducted in Chinese. You can actually take courses conducted in English language to fulfill your Chinese concentration requirements. The only requirements we really strictly maintain is you have to, by the time of your senior year, your Chinese has to be good enough to take 2 400 level courses which are completely conducted in Chinese. Also, it has to be good enough for you to write a thesis in Chinese. Okay. Other than that, in your junior year, you can actually take some China courses conducted in English, offered either by me. I'm offering film courses, Chinese film courses conducted in English, or another department, Asian Studies, Government, Art History, and so on and so forth. We have, at least at this point, we have 5 professors in various departments doing China studies and offering courses focusing on China. Okay. Also, if you don't study abroad, you can think about maybe it's an option for you to think about a minor in Chinese. A minor in Chinese is much easier than concentration in Chinese because it only requires 5 courses offered by Chinese program, and you don't write senior thesis in Chinese to declare minor. Again, we count from 140. And again, you can actually use courses conducted in English to fulfill the requirements. But pay attention to this. We do require at least 1 400 level Chinese course for you to fulfill the minor requirements. All 400 level courses are conducted, Chinese courses are conducted in Chinese language only. So you have to make sure, again, by the time of the senior year, your Chinese must be good enough to take a 400 level course in Chinese. Okay. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the cultural requirement. If you think about going to China, by now I hope I have convinced you how important it is to go to China to study abroad in ACC and so on and so forth. We do offer, you have to, before you go to China, you have to take at least 1 cultural course on China to fulfill what we call a cultural requirement. We do offer a variety of choices in every semester. And in every semester, I will send you an email listing out all those courses that would satisfy the cultural requirement. And in this semester, the current semester, for example, we have like 4 courses offered by various departments that you can use to fulfill the requirement, including my own course on Chinese language, cinema, and Hollywood, and so on and so forth. And soon, very soon, I will send you another email telling you what courses would satisfy this requirement in fall 2017, next semester. Okay, so you take the courses, and ideally before you go to ACC or before you go to China, but you actually can petition to take the course requirement course after returning from ACC. Also, it's not recommended, but you have that option. And then after you receive the grade for one of the approved courses, remember to email this person in registrar and CC me to have the registrar's office update your web advisor. We cannot automatically update your web advisor because the courses actually change from one semester to another. The list constantly changes, so we have to do it manually. So remember, after you take those courses, after you get, I assume, a passing grade from all those courses, just email that person and CC me. That's about it. Any questions for me? Yes.
So concerning studying abroad in both the summer and a semester in China, say like the fall. So I know that I feel like most students are interested in sort of doing an internship over the summer.
Yes.
So I was wondering if that was a part of the program, or if students were interested in doing an internship over the summer, whether or not they'd have to sort of scavenger hunt and look for an internship on their own in Beijing.
That's a very, very good question, because this is exactly what the ACC program is trying to do. We did not really emphasize on the internship part before, but we're actually making new changes to give students more and more chances for internship. Because we know that's very important and that interests a lot of students. I would recommend you to talk to Professor Zhang, Director Zhang, who's not here.
I know her.
She will be able to give you more information on that.
Yeah, and also I had an internship when I was over there. It was through Whale Rock Capital Management. Alex Sacerdote is the CEO of the hedge fund, was a Hamilton alum, and they do a lot of investing and research in China. And so every round that there are ACC students going to Hamilton students going to China, they put their posting on WebAdvisor for a few interns to work for them while they're over there, and it's really chill. Frankly, it's not you're not in an office. You're really on your own, and you report the information you have back to them through via email or on their Yammer, which is a professional Facebook wall, and they just say okay, we know that this company is having this this internet company is having this sale this month, so can you report, take pictures and let us know how many sales you can see or how many delivery services are going around, and you just send that information back to them, and it's paid, which is great because China is relatively inexpensive, so the money they give you really goes a long way. And yeah, so I had a great experience doing that, and I would the short thesis I did when you're in the fall is just your project while you're over there. I mixed the assignment they gave me with the project, and so I would just interview people in the streets for 20 minutes at a time, talking about the gaming industry, which is what the assignment was. And so it really goes hand in hand with the two, learning Chinese and working really go well together, because you can use the Chinese you've learned and your speaking proficiency to get better data and better answers from people when you're interviewing them.
Yeah, so I also did that internship with Oliver, and I just did this summer, so it's still possible, even if you don't do fall and or spring in the summer. Another thing is, you might think, oh, if I go to China and intern there with this company people don't really know about, does it look less good on my resume? But I would say people have really commented on my resume and said, oh, that's really impressive, you've interned in Beijing. Most of our candidates haven't done that before. And now that obviously the world is so globalized, I think it really brings a unique perspective. And you're clearly a candidate that stands out in their eyes.
It's a huge bonus. Probably one of the most noted things in my resume.
Actually, by the way, something relevant to that, we do maintain a LinkedIn group, and in that group we now have around 250 members who are previous alumni and also current Chinese concentrators and miners, and also all you lovely Chinese professors and instructors. So that actually creates a very useful platform for you to professional connect to each other, and that on that platform also provide job-related information to help you career development. Any more questions for me? Yes.
Does the cultural requirement count towards the major and the minor?
You can use that if you need that. Usually, if you go, as I explained to you, if you go to ACC for a regular semester or a regular semester plus 1 summer, you usually don't need that. But the only requirement is that you cannot double dip. This is like a college-wide policy. You cannot use that course to count towards Chinese major at the same time and another major. You cannot do that. But if you do need that cultural requirement course offered by another department to be counted towards your major requirements, we can do that for you. Any other questions for me? Okay, so let me now open the floor for you to ask questions freely to the senior students here. They will give you a lot of useful information.
This is a follow-up question. So that opportunity sounds amazing, and I don't think that I feel like that'd be perfect. So hopefully that opportunity is still available when I sort of apply. But I was wondering whether how challenging it was sort of being able to find internships like this one and apply and get accepted.
I mean, this one I didn't really look for it that much. I knew I think during the Chinese New Year festival, my freshman year, there were some. This program's been going on for a while. So seniors, my freshman year had done it also, and so they advertised it, and so it's pretty well among the Chinese major students who have done it. It's pretty well advertised, and it's on Hamnet, and so it's not it's pretty available. It's pretty open and easy to find. But in terms of other opportunities, frankly, I didn't really look because I knew that one was around and kind of put all my eggs in one basket.
Honestly, for me, I wasn't expecting to intern because I knew ACC was supposed to be very demanding. But I took a 400 level Chinese class with Parker Lewis, who graduated last year, and he I actually went home for that weekend, but I get this email from him. He's like, oh, we just posted this, because I think your Chinese is really good, and I've seen your work with the microfinance club. I think you'd be a really good candidate. And he basically, I think, gave my information to Alex, and the process was he came back for a trustee weekend, and we had our interview in Sadov, and he was like, okay, after 30 minutes, he was like, okay, Lisa, you're accepted, see you in the summer. So even though I feel hedge funds get interesting reputation, the people in the office are, very down to earth, and there's even another Hamilton grad in their office.
I had the exact same interview process. It was in Sadov and took 25 minutes. They're all very, very nice and low-key.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people also worked in Beijing part-time. I think Devin mentioned, she helped this app by recording her voice.
Yeah, we spoke English. We would read things, and they you speak English for hours, a few hours, and they just give you money.
So if you're looking for money to spend.
That was fun.
Is your language partner someone in China who you get paired up with? Who, did they, and you only speak Chinese with them? Are they trying to learn English at all, or is it just are they just supposed to be your friend?
It's a pretty you put down. I think I remember you put down kind of they give you a questionnaire, just hobbies, what your hobbies are, and stuff like that. So they give you a pretty comparable match. But yeah, they're students, because you're studying at Minzu University in China, which is I think 20,000 students, and they're just one of the students there who volunteered to match up with studying abroad students. And so yeah, you're just there speaking you just speak Chinese with them. You go out to lunch or dinner with them and just hang out with them, and it's nice because they show you. Yeah, it's just just having a friend in Beijing, because they just show you around and take you to cool stuff. And
yeah, it's something that doesn't really have a rubric. I know the Chinese department loves telling you this is what you need to do, but basically they introduce you guys to someone, and it's up to you how you want to maintain that contact. I know for mine throughout the summer, I think we grabbed a few meals, and each time she'd like bring a new friend with her, so I got to hear a different perspective. Or one time she took me to the mall and she was like, oh, it's for free today, like we don't even need to pay to get a taxi, like they can call it from their phone. So a lot of it was just learning about culturally, like how do, millennials live in Beijing.
Did you find that like anyone really connected with their partner, like became friends, like would go out, that kind of stuff with them?
Some of them would like go out to movies together, like catch up pretty regularly.
Yeah.
I still talk to mine. She really wanted to learn English, but like at ACC you have the language pledge. But after that I went back. Devin mentioned it, Nicole and I went back and did the ACC Field Studies program, so I was able to talk to her then. She helped me with my Chinese, I helped her with my, her English, and now we like still WeChat. She uses English, I use Chinese, and it's just, I really like her, she's great.
Any other questions?
那有问题吗
See, I use English and he uses Chinese. Okay, let's continue this conversation. Let's take is there any more food there or drink there? Let's continue enjoying the refreshments and maybe let's turn this semi-formal setting into a very informal setting that you can actually freely talk to those senior students who can provide you with more information. Before that, let's give them a big hand. They provided very